Hey guys, so I'm adding another worksheet to my budget workbook. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Erin if you're new here, and I do mostly budgeting videos, and that's what we're going to do today. And this is a new budget worksheet. I kind of gave a little bit of a teaser to this in a previous video, but this is something that I came up with that I thought would be super helpful to the average person. It's going to be super helpful to me, I know that. And this is a fixed expenses / bill tracker. So this is something that you can use on a yearly basis, and I used a little dollar sign there. I thought that was a cute touch. But this is something you can use on a yearly basis, and then you can see like a general overview as your year progresses, and at the end of the year, this is going to be all filled in and such a nice resource for you to look back on and say, where'd my money go? Like, how much were we paying at that time? And I just think it's great. I just think that it is going to be super useful. So we're going to work on filling this in for my budget, and then that way you guys will have an idea of how you can use it and if it will be useful to you or not. For me, for sure. So first of all, we're going to add the year here. So we are working in the year 2024. No secret to anybody. And then I need some pages underneath this. So I have some extra copies of this. I'm just going to set it on because it's really hard for me to write with like a scratcher tip pen on this surface. So I'm going to just add a little padding. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is add the year, which we did. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to list all of our fixed expenses. And this is everything from our mortgage to our utilities to car payments to loan payments, whatever the case may be. Now, you may not have that stretch over the span of a year. So let's say you have a personal loan, or now let's say you have a credit card and your credit card is nearly being paid off. That's great. And that's amazing progress. So you can use as many of these columns as you need to. And once it's done, it's done. And then you don't have to fill these in any longer because you're not making that payment any longer. So the columns go from January, obviously, to December. So there's 12 here. And you're going to write your expense description or name, the amount that you pay, and then what's the due date. So that's the only thing I'm not going to fill in today because I don't think I have that figured out, or I have that figured out, I just don't have it handy. So I'm not going to waste your time and try to find that, but we're going to fill out the other portions so we can all be on the same page. So first things first, we're going to put in mortgage because that's the first thing that's due every month for us, and it's our biggest expense. And I don't know, I just always add it first whenever I'm doing any type of budget breakdown. And the next thing we're going to add are property taxes. And some of these dates I actually can put in because I do know them. But some of them I will have to go back in and fill in. This is going to be number 3, homeowners insurance. So we have that down. Now, you may be thinking, isn't that all in your mortgage? And for some people it is. For us, it's not, because I like keeping those things separate. I don't like to escrow money with the bank anymore. I did that for years, and in my opinion, why? Like, why let them make the interest on it or invest your money for no, I don't know, you're not getting any payback for it. So when I decided to keep those separate, I decided to do it moving forward for life if I can, as long as the banks will let us do that. When we got our new mortgage last year, I did ask up front, can we keep those expenses separate? And they said yes. So I was really happy about that. And then when let's try this. When I opened our high yield savings accounts, I was really happy because, that money, if I have it early, can hang out there and it can earn me some interest. So yeah, I think it's good. And that way I can always look into our insurance. Are we paying too much? Are we paying just enough for homeowners? Because sometimes you need to audit those things and check those things and look into those numbers to make sure you're not paying too much, and that whatever company you've been with for a while isn't like taking advantage and just raising your rates as you go, and you're never making any claims, but it just keeps getting higher and you're like, what's going on here? So for the mortgage, it is $1,870, and that is for principal and interest. For our property taxes, I do need to refer to a sheet after all because I don't have the specifics memorized. So let me go into my budget workbook, and I'm going to take these right from my latest monthly breakdown. So I'm using the dog on a beach, living his or her best life. I'm using that version of the monthly workbook kit. This is my month on 2 pages, and if you're wondering why I didn't fill it out, I may make a video where I go back and fill this out because some people are saying they prefer this vertical layout, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm not going to remove that from my budget workbook kits. I did make this one, it's a horizontal layout, but again, that's not necessary either. I want to make sure that I'm doing, you know, whatever's best for everybody. So I'm going to leave this as a separate printable that you can download and add in if you want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of here, and I'm also going to take this sheet because this has my due dates. And then I will be able to use these to fill in the blanks for this sheet. So it's good. It's good. It's all a checks and balances system, right? So what I shouldn't have done is put down 1870. So I'm going to take that out because that's actually not specific enough for my liking. So I'm going to white that out very quickly. Dollar Tree, get your white out there. All right, and I'm going to put in the exact amount because that's how I have it down in my monthly budget planner sheet. So I'm going to write 18. This is still kind of tacky, so I don't want to pull up the whiteout. 1867.96. Let's be specific, right? Property taxes are $350. Homeowners insurance is $148.98. Now this can always change. Oops. This can all, you know, that could change, and then you can either white it out and put both amounts that you were paying, or you can create a different color for the month that it changed and put a little asterisk down at the bottom and say why that's a different color, and then you'll know that that's the month that it went up in price, because it's not coming down unless you find a better company, which could happen. So car insurance, $183.66 for 2 vehicles. Gas, I always budget $150. Sometimes it's enough, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's too much, it just depends. Electric, I budget $150. Now we're talking, these are budgeted, so I want to use that because these are so incredibly variable and they change so much. I can never put one amount in here that's going to cover every single month. It just wouldn't happen. Water, I'm going to put in $125, and actually I really should be budgeting $130 because our water bill is so high, and I don't know why. I mean, it's got water and sewage in it. I know some people pay those separately, but for whatever reason, the water where I live, it's like liquid gold. So trash, $35. Trash is another one. I pay it monthly, but I technically could pay it every 3 months, but I've just gotten in the habit of doing it monthly. They don't care. The bill, it technically is for every 3 months, but I don't use their billing. I just go in there and I make a payment. Okay, so that's all my amounts. So this sheet came in very handy for that, right? So we're gonna set this aside for now, and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna look at this because this actually has the dates that all these expenses, all these headaches are due. So we can see, it's going to be hard for you to see because I have to keep referring to this, but the mortgage is due on the 1st, and I'm not putting anything in front of that because it could be June 1st, it could be August 1st. I'm just putting what day of the month, okay? So the property taxes, the 1st. The homeowner's insurance is also the 1st. The car insurance, where are we with car insurance? That's the 3rd. And again, you could white this out if you change companies, or sometimes our gas and our electric try to be real comedians and they switch up our due dates. It's mostly the gas company around here, and I don't know why it does that. So sometimes it's just like a day difference, and sometimes it's like a considerable difference. And I'm like, why, what is happening? Why are we changing the due date? And they're always like, if you need to change your payment date, contact us. I'm never going to contact them. I'm never going to call them and talk to them on the phone and address this verbally. So I just go along with it, and I just, I'm like, whatever. The nice thing about that is once I started paying the bill a month ahead, I'm okay. So I'm never going to be late with it as long as I keep doing that. But when I used to rely on that date and it would change, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, for what reason? But now it's just like I notate it. I just take a look just for the fun of it every time the bill comes out, the statement, and I'm like, oh, really? We're doing that now? Okay. All right. So the gas is technically always due on the 4th. And then electric, where are we? Electric, the 10th. Again, these can change. Water, 29th. Now, I have to say, you're probably wondering, how do you pay a month in advance if you don't know what your bill is yet? And that's fair. Like, I can totally understand where you're coming from with that. Like, if the water bill isn't due until, let's say, we're in July right now, but it's not due till August 29th. I might pay it before the statement actually comes out for August. So I'm okay with that. I pay the amount that I budget, and sometimes it's a little bit too much, and sometimes I have to go back in and I have to tweak it, $3, $4, $5, $10, whatever it could be. And that's okay. I'm totally fine doing that. The bulk of it is paid ahead of time. But just because I pay the bills in July for the month of August doesn't mean that I'm not on top of those statements and making sure that whatever I paid covered the amount that's due. And the only things that are really affected that way are the utilities. Everything else is pretty much a fixed payment. So I don't have to worry about that so much with those. But it's just those couple utilities. I just want to make sure that I'm always paying enough. So in somebody's lifetime, I would like to really pay all the utilities a year in advance, but I just think how nice that would be. And then just do a little check-in, once a month, just to make sure that whatever I budgeted was still on the money. I don't know, but it just sounds really nice to me. But that's what you get when you're somebody who doesn't want to constantly be paying bills. It's cumbersome. So cell phones is also the 3rd. So these are a little bit out of order, the way I wrote them. Trash is the 5th. Car number 1 is the 4th. Car number 2 is the 8th. All right, now we're going to do the fun part, and we're going to color in what we've already paid. So that's me, at least, is the fun part. I don't know. You guys are probably like, okay, loser, if that's like how you have your fun. And it is. It really is. It doesn't take much for me. It really doesn't. So I'm going to pick a couple of Tombow dual-tipped markers that I can use. And right now I need 7 of them. I need 7 different colors. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I'm going to color in all of these columns up until July because I've already paid July's bills. And even though you're seeing this in July, I paid July's bills in June. So we're going to start off strong with a bold teal for January. And I'm using Tombow dual tipped markers, and I'm just going to use the larger tipped end and just put it on an angle, and it will cover that perfectly. So there we go. I'm just gonna fill that in ever so slightly. All right, so that's January. Now let's use a lighter color for February. Perfect. This is so satisfying. Guys, I'm not even joking. This is so satisfying. And then March, let's go with this berry color. This one's a little bit of a, I don't know what to say. It's a little bit harder to use. All right, so there's that. April, let's use green. The lighter colors are definitely more forgiving. Okay. May, let's use this really pretty lilac. This is so nice. Now you can go back and you can print a sheet like this out for the last 10 years if you want to. And you can go back and fill this information out. So if you're somebody who's already budgeting and you're like, hey, I have all that information, like I'm good, like let's do this. You can definitely create this so you have a nice archive of expenses. I have this color left and this color left, okay. So, you know, if you want to back plan, I back plan all the time. No joke. Why did I do that? It's too close. And it went over the line. Pretty dramatically, if I might say. I wanted to use the orange for July because I figure July is such a hot month. And I don't know, orange seems to be such a summery color in my mind. So I wanted to use that. My birthday's in August. So typically when I think of August, I think of two colors. Let me know if you think of colors, if you can assign a color to a month. So in August, I think of like a hot pink because it's hot and it's summer, and I think hot pink is like a really nice, almost like the one I used for March. Hot pink is like a really nice color for summer, I think. And then I think of a really sparkly green because that's the birthstone. It's a peridot. And I used to hate a peridot when I was younger. I was like, oh my gosh, I have the worst birthstone color. Because let me tell you, when I was younger, birthstones were a thing. And if you grew up, you know, a kid of the late 80s and the 90s, you know, birthstones were like, they were important. Sometimes you had necklaces, you had little rings, you were identifying with your birthstone. And I was always like so embarrassed because everybody else was just like so colorful and pretty. And then there was this like ugly, in my opinion at the time, green color for August. And I was like, you know, I always felt so bad about it. Now, I think it's my favorite color out of all the birthstones. I think that it's beautiful. So if you're not familiar with the August peridot, it's spelled peridot. It's just absolutely, I don't know, it's beautiful in my opinion. So anyways, what's your birthstone? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious. I love that kind of thing. I like to know astrological signs. I like to know birthstones. I like all that kind of stuff. And I just think it makes you who you are. It's just like part of your uniqueness. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for going through this with me. I thought this was fun. And I'm excited to fill it in for the rest of the year. The startling thing to me, if I can be startled by this, is that we literally have 5 months left after, I mean, we're in July. So, I mean, technically we're early July. But after this, we've got 5 months left to go. And how many of you have started your Christmas club savings? Are you somebody who shops early? Do you pick up things all year round? I always have a lot of admiration for my friends who do that. Like they'll be out in February and they'll be like, oh yeah, I picked up 2 Christmas gifts. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, are you serious? But literally, it's such a thing for some people. And I think that is so organized. And I'm so impressed by that all the time. I'm somebody who now saves ahead of time, but I do the bulk of my shopping in late November, like starting Black Friday weekend, basically. If I see something very special for somebody, I will pick it up earlier than that. But other than that, I get a kick out of shopping during the holidays. I literally, no joke, my family and I were in New York City, in Manhattan, like downtown New York City, for Black Friday one year. And it was insanity. And this was probably like more than 15 years. It was about 15 years ago. So you can imagine at that time, people were really still shopping in brick and mortar stores a lot more than they are now. It was insane, but I loved every minute of it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I loved all the excitement and the crowds. I don't know. I know that's weird. Anyways, guys, all right, I'll see you next time. Bye.